Hello and welcome back. Sorry I was gone for a little while. I was actually on vacation in the tropical, beautiful, majestic lands of Connecticut. And I am back and ready to do a fun little what if video. Now, I wanted to talk about this because the queen that today's video is based around is soon to be back on our screens in just a couple of weeks for All-Star 6. You know, we are talking about Eureka O'Hara, or Eureka, or Eureka! Which is how she will be known on All-Star 6. So, we are going to go all the way back to the origins of Eureka on Drag Race. We're going to go back to the old, crunchy year of 2017, probably 30 seasons ago at this point, to season 9, where Eureka unfortunately broke her leg or something, or snapped her ankle, tore a tendon, something in the death trap of a challenge, which was the cheerleading challenge, and she went home in episode 5, which was the Kardashians' Rusical. Now, if you remember correctly, Eureka was safe in the episode, and they actually showed the full lip sync between Cynthia Lee Fontaine and Pheromone to the greatest song to ever be on Drag Race, Woman Up by Meghan Trainor, aka the fashion icon herself. And then Ru is like, bitch, you can't even walk, you gotta hit the hay but come back next season. And then obviously Eureka comes back on season 10, and we know how the story goes from there. But what would have happened if Eureka had just hit that split by, 13 degrees to the left or whatever, and not broken her leg? What if she had not been taken out of the game in that episode? We are going to look at that today, and what's great is we saw Eureka do a lot of these challenges, or at least challenges like the ones that she missed, on season 10, so this is actually pretty easy to determine how she would do on the season and how the season would have changed. Now, first, before we get into that, make sure you're following me on my Instagram and my Twitter. Make sure you're standing ketamine, and make sure you check out my Patreon if you are able. We just announced the All-Star 6 Fantasy Draft, where the winner will get merch from any All-Star 6 queen of their choice. So for details on that, go check out my Patreon and check out the Discord server on the Patreon. We're having lots of fun, lots of events going on soon, so very exciting things. Go check that out if you are able. Now, the video, let's go. Set the scene. We have the lip sync assassins of All Stars 9, Miss Pheromone and Miss Cynthia Lee Fontaine, and they do the insane, death-defying, gravity-defying lip sync to Woman Up. And I asked you guys, both on my Twitter and my Instagram, who you think would have won this lip sync if it was a elimination. And it was kind of close, but I agreed with the final result that you guys chose, which was Pheromone wins. And Cynthia Lee Fontaine sachets away in 11th place. I think that, obviously this wasn't a good lip sync, but Pheromone gave me some, pop girl energy, and Cynthia was just kind of doing some weird stuff, she got naked, and her panties didn't match her bra, and she, did a split at the moment where the song, cuts out for a minute, which was weird, because in my no drag knowledge opinion, you want to do the split when the song, hits. You want to hit, the oomph, and then you hit a split. The music literally, cuts out, and she, jumps into a split, and I'm like, oh, okay. So, yeah, Pheromone won, I guess, and Cynthia Lee Fontaine sachets away, and we have our final 10 going into the Snatch game. Now, Eureka obviously did great on the Snatch game on season 10 as Honey Boo Boo. I don't know if she still would have done Honey Boo Boo or what would have happened there, but obviously this was not a great Snatch game by any means. I think that the top 3 of the week were all great, and everyone else was either fine or terrible. So I don't think it would be very hard for Eureka to snag a top 3 placement here and probably take that away from Nina Bonina Brown. So that means our top 3 would be Eureka, Sasha Velour, and Alexis Michelle. Now, the question is, would Alexis Michelle still win, or would Eureka win this challenge? And I think that Alexis Michelle would probably win. She did a really spot-on Liza. She had really funny jokes, and they were already kind of building up the storyline where, like, she was always the bridesmaid, never the bride. This was her moment to shine and to win the challenge, and I think that she would still win here. And our bottom 3 is going to change because Cynthia was in the bottom here and went home, which means right off the bat we're going to have a different queen sashay away in this episode. So the bottom 3 originally was Pheromone, Cynthia Lee Fontaine, and Peppermint. So with Cynthia not there, I think that Pheromone would be kind of pushed down into a bottom placement instead of just low. So who would be low here? I would say Aja, I guess. I mean, Aja didn't do terrible, but she didn't do great. Her runway wasn't great. It looked kind of cheap. So compared to, like, Valentina or Trinity, who were kind of the other two that were, like, of the safe girls, not the best, I think that Aja did the worst. So Aja is going to be low, and we have a lip sync to Music by Madonna from Peppermint and Pheromone, and, like, I mean, it was an assassination the first time, and it's going to be potentially even a bigger assassination this time, because as much as I love my, Pheromone, she's gonna go home here, and the lip sync assassin Peppermint will claim her first victim of the season. So now we have 9021 Ho, and how would Eureka do here? Who would Eureka play? I could easily say she would just take Farrah's role, but, like, I don't really think she would. I could see her maybe taking Valentina's role, and Valentina taking Farrah's role. I think that's what would make the most sense. Eureka likes being big, she likes being crazy, she likes being messy, and much like how she was on Bossy Rossi, she kind of gets to play with that in Valentina's role as, like, this drunk virgin. So let's just say that's what would happen. Regardless, I think Eureka would do well in any role that she got because Eureka is just a really good actress. Now, we did see her kind of fumble in Breast World on season 10, but to be completely honest, I just don't see that happening here. I think that who was left in season 10, Eureka didn't necessarily feel like she had to work as hard, maybe, since not many queens left were all that funny. But here, I think that Eureka was, especially on season 9, she was in it to win it. She had competition. She was up against some really, really fierce queens. So I think this is going to be A-game Eureka. And I would put her in the top here, along with Shay and Trinity. Do I think she would win? No, I still think Trinity would probably win, because Trinity took a character that maybe was funny, but wasn't the star, and made it the star, and that's how you win these acting challenges. The artist previously known as Trinity Taylor would win this challenge with Shay and Eureka in the top. Now, the bottom. I don't think anything would change, actually. I think Sasha Velour would be low, and I think that Nina Bonina Brown and Aja would lip sync to Finally by Cece Peniston, and Aja would unfortunately go home, even though they wore their greatest look of the entire season in this episode. But no one is stopping Miss Nina Bonina Brown at this point. So now we move on to the roast. And this is a challenge we have not seen Eureka perform in. And if there is a roast on All-Star 6, maybe what I say here could be completely wrong. But as of now, I think Eureka would do great. She won the reading challenge on season 10. She's just naturally really funny, and she's not afraid to go there with her jokes. Be a little raunchy, be a little rude, but it always is fun and lighthearted. So I actually think Eureka would do very well in this challenge. The question is, would she beat Peppermint? I'm not sure. I'm really not sure because we will get there in the Riggery of Season 9 video, but Peppermint had a lot of rigging in her favor. I wouldn't say a lot. Compared to other seasons, it wasn't much, but in this season, I would say Peppermint had the most rigging in her favor. Peppermint was one of the biggest personalities, one of the biggest names, so I think that they would really want Peppermint to get a win, and as we know, this was her only win, so I think that Peppermint is probably still going to win, and maybe it's not deserved if Eureka is, really, really good, but I still think that they would give Peppermint a win here. So we have Peppermint winning this challenge with Eureka in the top, along with Shea Coulee, and I kind of pushed Sasha down to safe. She did have one joke that didn't land, and of course she recovered beautifully, and it was great, but I do think that Eureka would probably do better than Sasha. So now we have to look at the bottom, because of course Pheromone is not here, which is a travesty because her roast set is favorite moment of mine in Drag Race. It is just like a dumpster fire, but in the best, most endearing way, and it is the reason why I love Pheromone. It is Pheromone at her absolute best, and worst, but best, let's be real. So without Pheromone, Trinity the Tuck is going to be pushed down in the bottom along with Alexis. Now, of the two safe queens from this episode, Nina Bonina Brown and Valentina, who would be in the low position? I picked Valentina just because, yes, she was funny, but it wasn't in the way I think she was intending. And while not every single one of Nina Bonina's jokes landed, she had a character and had a fully fleshed out character that worked and was funny. So I think for the very fact alone that Valentina's jokes made no sense at all and were just like completely ridiculous, that's at least something that they could critique her on. So I think she would be in the bottom 3, but ultimately not lip sync. So what would happen between a Trinity Taylor and Alexis Michelle lip sync to Baby I'm Burnin' by Dolly Parton? Honestly, this could be a double Shantae. It could be. I'm not going to make it one because there's no room in the season for one. But I think of the two, Trinity would win. She was wearing a country look, like a little redneck look that, I mean, obviously it's a disco Dolly Parton number, but it's still Dolly Parton. So I think she could camp that up and it would go with the song well. And yes, Alexis did good, but Trinity is one of the best lip syncers in the season. Obviously, she had the iconic lip sync against Charlie Hides. So up to this point, Trinity had been doing pretty well. She's had 2 wins. And Alexis, her storyline was kind of over. She got her win. And as we see for the rest of the season, she's in the bottom 3. So, like, I could see them both staying, but I think I'm just going to say Alexis is going to go home here. Trinity Taylor is going to continue on. So now we have the iconic episode where the queens make pilots. I'm going to just make this very simple and say that Eureka is going to take Alexis's part in the groups. So we have Sasha and Shea working together, we have Peppermint, Trinity, and Eureka working together, and we have Nina and Valentina working together. At this point, Eureka and Trinity had kind of made up after their fight, and I think they both knew that they were talented and could maybe work together really great, even though they weren't always on the best of terms. So it makes sense, honestly. I think that Sasha and Shea are still going to win, though, and unlike in the original where Alexis was really thrown under the bus and put into the bottom 3, I think this is going to be a much more evenly balanced team, and probably all 3 of them would be, like, high. And that would leave, of course, Nina and Valentina in the bottom, and we all know what happens. It's iconic, it's amazing. Valentina is eliminated. We go into the next episode, which is the Makeover episode. Now, we know Eureka did really, really well in her makeover on season 10. I would say she probably did, like, the second best, maybe third, depending on how much you like Asia's. I would say Eureka's real competition in this episode is going to be Trinity and Sasha. Both of them, I think, did a really good job. If this were me being fair, I would say that Sasha probably deserved to win this challenge over Trinity, but I am actually going to give Eureka the win here. And I have a couple of reasons why. One, I think she would genuinely do good. Two, at this point in the competition, at the end, most of the time, it is either win a challenge or go home. And I don't think Eureka would go home here, so I think that she would win this challenge. And the other thing is, storyline-wise, she's been in the top 4 weeks in a row up to this point. So I think it's kind of wild to not give her at least one win. Maybe she wouldn't do great. I mean, not all of her fashions were on point, but Eureka can, 1, beat a mug, and 2, style a wig. So I think that she would do really good. And she has a way of connecting with people that I think would propel her to the top of this challenge. So I'm going to say Eureka's going to win. Of the other 3, the bottom 3, Peppermint, whose looks were just not good at all. And then we have Shay, who looked great, but her partner had a couple of problems with her wig on the runway and all that. And then Nina Bonina Brown, who at this point in the competition had just given up. And of course, Peppermint is not in the bottom here. So Shay and Nina lip sync. Nina continues to give up and unfortunately goes home. So we're at the top 5 now. Eureka is still in. She has been in the top for 5 weeks in a row with 1 win. Already very drastically different. So we have our top 5 of Sasha, Peppermint, Trinity, Shay, and Eureka. The gay ball. I struggled here because, yes, Eureka can sew. We've seen Eureka sew. She did an amazing job in the Season 10 Sewing Challenge. She did an okay job in the Season 9 Sewing Challenge. But another thing about Eureka is her fashions on Season 9 were just not there. I don't know if she didn't have the budget. I don't know if she didn't have the designers. I don't know what it was. But most of her looks on Season 9, I would say, were boots. So, for a ball challenge, I'm not sure. I don't know. Yes, she was in the top in the first episode, which was like a semi-ball. But really, were either of those looks that good? And looking at what the other queens in this episode did, I just don't see Eureka meeting that level of drag at this point in her career, at this point of what we had seen. Now, we actually do see her rainbow look for this episode, and it's just a pageant gown. Like, it's just a pageant gown. There's nothing that makes it special. There's nothing that sets it apart. And for some of the other queens like Shay and Sasha, who did really interesting things with their rainbow looks, that one I just don't think they would praise her for. We don't know what her unicorn look was. We don't know what she would have done for the final look since she would have to made it there. I think Eureka would be in the bottom. Because looking at what Trinity did, looking at what Sasha did, and looking at what Shay did, I don't think she would do as well. So that means that Eureka is going to be in the bottom here with Peppermint, lip-syncing to Macho Man. And this one is also very difficult. I don't know what would have happened here. Because it is a fun, campy song, and Eureka is a fun, campy queen. And we know Peppermint did a fantastic job, but would it be enough to beat Eureka? I'm not sure. I really am torn here. Maybe they both win, and then they all go on to do the category is episode, and someone goes home. Maybe Eureka beats Peppermint and makes it to top 4. Maybe Peppermint beats Eureka. And just based on how this season was heading, what the producers wanted, and what riggery we'd already seen, I don't see a reality in which Peppermint is not in the top 4 for Season 9. They loved Peppermint, they knew she was going to be a fan favorite, and they pushed her several times in the season, which, when we get to the riggery of Season 9, I will go into depth with. So, just for that factor, even if Eureka does better than Peppermint in this lip sync, I don't see them cutting Peppermint before the finale. I just don't. So, I'm going to say, if Eureka did not break her leg, or whatever she did to her leg, on Season 9, she would probably make it to 5th place and go home in the gay ball. That is my best guess. Obviously, it's all a guess. Who knows what would happen? She could have flopped a challenge that potentially she would have done well at, in my mind. But just based on the evidence we have, which is some of the looks that she brought that we didn't get to see, how she did in some of these challenges on season 10, and the competition that was still on the season with her, I think my best guess is she would have gone home here in 5th place. Let me know what you think, though. I'm very excited to see Eureka on All-Star 6. I think that she is so funny, she is so charismatic, she's such a big personality, and she's not afraid to fight, which is my favorite thing. I love when there's fights. So, this is just a reminder, guys, let's not send hate to the queens on All-Star 6, because I want to see fights, I want to see conflict, I want to be entertained. And the queens are not going to want to keep doing this if y'all rip them to shreds every single time a fight happens. So, I am so excited for what Eureka is going to bring. And maybe I'll do a part 2 on this video where if Eureka made it this far, she wouldn't have been on season 10. So what would season 10 have looked like if Eureka was not on it? Let me know if you would like to see that. Comment below. And with that, we are done with this episode. Here are my social medias. Thank you to my $3 and $5 tier patrons. I appreciate you guys so much. And it has been a long day of solving the mystery of what would have happened if the producers didn't force a 50-year-old man to do his best Simone Biles impersonation. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.